Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, Reading Ideas. I've been tagged by Stuart Griffin. Great channel, go check him out, very enthusiastic, reads a lot more than me, so thanks very much for the tag, Stuart. And the tag is, I'm doing it belatedly, the Trick or Treat book tag. So I'm late to it, so I'll credit the people who put it together. But I'm going to tag anybody who wants to do it belatedly like me, or of course you can wait for next year, but I'm not going to list people to do it, with it being belated. I'm not going to put pressure on anybody to do it, but of course you're more than welcome to be late like I am, like what I is. So the tag creators are Heather at Heather Reads and Meg at Books Off the Beaten Path. So check those out. Right, okay, so there's two prompts rather, each for 5 books. And I've got another slight confession as well. So prompt 1 is tricks, 5 books under the trick prompt. Pick 5 books which you have read that did not turn out to be what you hoped for, like getting candy, but it's not the kind you like. Tell us the reason this book didn't work for you. Treats. So I slightly went with the... I misread the second thing, because in the treats it says... Pick 5 books which you have read which were the best reading experiences you've had. Now, I thought ahead after the first one and thought it would be 5 books that exceeded your expectations. Not that they were necessarily the 5 books that you've ever read. So I picked those, and I'm gonna stick to that. I'm gonna stick to that. Why not? It's always good to put a little twist on things, isn't it? So 5 books that disappointed over expectations and 5 that exceeded expectations, and why. Okay, so in the tricks column, I can't put my hand on it. For the first book is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. The title of that, I didn't know what it was about, but has been kind of around, within earshot for a long while as a great book. Oh, The Catcher in the Rye. Well, that sounds like a great book, doesn't it? J.D. Salinger, great writer, So it was like, so eventually I got around to trying it, hated it. It's written in that style where, what do they call it? Where someone just speaks. And the voice of the person. Now the story behind it is, and it's Pat at Book Chat with Pat, one of her favourite books, if not her favourite book. And if you want to hear positive things about it, then go to Pat's channel. But I just couldn't wait for him to shut up, so I didn't finish it, and that was the end of that. So yeah, I had high expectations, and yeah, not for me, but that's what's great about literature, isn't it? We all have our choices. Now, the second one in the trick, that again didn't meet my great expectations, and this was The Great Gatsby. And yeah, all the things that people like about it, the dissolute lifestyles and rich people and what have you. Yeah, really didn't like it. Didn't like anybody. Didn't find it interesting. Found it very, very tedious, annoying. It's just, yeah, no. So another DNF for me. Another DNF. So again, some people's favourite book. do people like to be punished? Have they got I won't say a death wish, that's a bit too strong, but no, really didn't like it. Tedious. Oh, it's fabulous. Oh, come on, we can do better than that. We can do better than that. It's the mediocre Gatsby from me. Was it How to Win Friends and Influence People? And number 3 on the disappointments, the tricks. For me, again, it's probably been overhyped. Philip K. Dick, he's brilliant, he's a genius, absolutely fabulous. Oh, he thinks about everything, and amazing. And Ubik, one of his best books. Yeah, it's kind of like, lots of interesting concepts in there. Philip, yeah, but yeah, no, not for me. I found it a little bit boring. Loads of, kind of, I won't say red herrings, but kind of, you're going down a particular path and it ends nowhere, and then you end up going over it again, and it's, he kind of writes, about things that could happen that haven't happened, and tries to pretend that they are happening and how people would react in those situations and what have you. And because it's the first time that it's happened, people don't quite know what's going on. But yeah, not for me. I'm wondering, it's making me nervous that, Mr. Philip K. might not be for me if they're all going to be like that. So, but I'll give another one a go and we'll see. But well loved, but yeah, not for me. But then again, I don't like horror books at all, so yeah, I know. And 4th one. This was disappointing in a slightly different way. So it's, that's quite difficult to actually read what that book is. It's The Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Now, when I was younger, late teens, I read a lot about, Nazis and concentration camps, and, that was a very, very tough read, never again type of thing. A very, very tough read. But this I found, it was going on at the same time, and afterwards, what was going on in Russia, I found was worse, which is slightly unbelievable. And the Nazis, they kind of had a plan. They were thoroughly nasty, and I'm not saying you could. It's difficult when you're talking about. I wouldn't think there'd be anything lower, but this I found lower, because this was just so mentally disorienting. I don't know whether it was because with the Nazis, that they get their comeuppance in the end. That they did terrible things, but they were held to account and people discuss it and moved on. But the people who did this atrocities not been held to account. We've not had any restitution or anything. But even that, even if there was, it might not even be that. It's just such a, messes with your mind reading it. With the Nazis, you kind of knew they didn't like, knew what they were doing. It was regimented, and then it was just like a fight to overthrow them. In this, that whole people telling on their neighbours, and just the complete, no way out, no justice, no reason. the extra dimension of not just messing with your body, but messing with any kind of social structure, any kind of logic, any kind of sense, any reason. There's just no rhyme, no reason. It's just absolutely horrendous. And I got as far through it as I could, and then it's just horrible, 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 horrible. Right, now I'm going to do a bit of a joint one on for the fifth one. So it's a bit of a cheat. So this kind of historical book. So we look back in time and try and think, what went on, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and I know we were trying to discover the earth and whatnot, and it's difficult to look back when you have like historical records like these. So I was reading through this, obviously very famous book, Marco Polo, The Travels, and it's just, you read it and you think, wow, where he went, and his father, and Kublai Khan, and China, the Silk Road, the mysterious Orient, the East. Fantastic. He came back with tales of daring do and wonders and gold and jewels and, princes, kings and what have you, and to have survived winters and, just the tales of, just the tales of Kublai Khan's court and everything. And you think, wow, that's amazing. Fabulous. And then you kind of read other like sections of it where you're kind of thinking, right, okay, so that city's based on this city, and then that could have happened, and he saw this, and that's absolutely amazing. And then you get another chapter and it says, and then they stopped, they couldn't go any further because such a king said, no, this religion's wrong, so we can't go further. And then this guy said, well, I'm going to prove it's right because I'm going to move a mountain. And everybody's like, oh, this is ridiculous. But then the next day they came and they saw the mountain move. Right, okay. So, hang on. So you wanted me to believe that, Tashkent is such and such a thing and that this happened on this day, but the next thing you wanted me to believe that a mountain top moved. Yeah, tough going to kind of think, that for the modern mind. And this has kind of got the same type of thing. Bede, A History of the English Church and People. What a tough read. Right, so Archbishop Cornwallis killed 15 people, but they, this king did that, and then there was rape and rapine, but then someone came along and then they killed him, and on this date, and then a church was founded there and then all this, and you're like, right, wow, that could be interesting. A real see through into, medieval, dark ages, early medieval. Wow, this king and that king, and he was there, did he? And they fought them, and he built this church, and he said this, and then the next minute it's, and I blessed a fishbone because there was a storm on the sea, and there was a miracle, and they all walked on water to land. Such and such a body cast a spell, and you're like, what on earth? What on earth was going on? What on earth is going on? So, there's Vikings at the door. Get the holy fish sticks. That'll stop them. Yeah, can't get me. Yeah, it's can't. Yeah, you kind of read it and you think, wow, the beginnings of, English civilization, and then you're thinking, how did they get through the day? We're going to plant the crops. We need to go and consult the oracle. Well, the Oracle says if you give him, you got to give him 20%, otherwise the great storm will come over the sea and wash all your crops up. What was going on? What was going on? Yeah? He tied his left shoelace before his right shoelace. Witch! Burn him! Yeah, very... Yes. So, yeah, kind of flashes of brilliance, but then... Yeah, so... What's it? I know I'm very heretical here, aren't I? Right, now, books that have exceeded expectations. Right, so what's been a great surprise to me is Louis L'Amour. I've told this. Worked on a second-hand bookstall on Bury Market when I was from 13 onwards, and they used to have great big boxes of books, 10p to buy, 5p to bring back, and they were giant boxes that held flowers from the flower stall opposite, and yeah, going across asking for any spares if, you know, when they started to get tatty. But there was a box of westerns, and people used to come on. Have you got any cowies? Have you got any good cowies? And they'd be there with a little list, checking, and then going through, you know, ticking off in the back of the book or tearing a corner off or something. So yeah, Louis L'Amour, really good stories. You know, not necessarily Hondo. They're, you know, pretty all good. Good characters, good morals. You know, the Wild West, cowboys, Indians, frontier, men and women. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant stuff. A really good, enjoyable read. Unlike Catcher in the Rye, yeah, F. Scott Fitzgerald's Gatsby, Alexander Soyunitz. Yes, yeah, you get the idea. And what again exceeded expectations for me when I read it. So great film. So I've been, you know, to my detriment, I've been avoiding books that have been made into films, thinking, well, I already know it, so there's plenty of other stuff to read. So, having read, you know, pretty much everything of Raymond Chandler, it's said, you know, The Big Sleep and all that, fabulous books. You know, looking about Dashiell Hammett was kind of the same, and then it was like, well, hang on, did he write The Maltese Falcon? So Dashiell Hammett, equally as good as Chandler, if not occasionally better. And The Maltese Falcon is just, for the genre, absolutely word perfect. Beautifully written. Great book. So if you're looking for an enjoyable read, and I've probably overdone it for you. It's all right. You'll quite like it. Yeah, it's all right. No, wonderfully written. I think there's, you know, generally an agreement that this is well written, great story. Yes, so exceeded expectations by quite some way. Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett. Tries other stuff as well. Lady in the Lake and all that. What was that? Chandler. Anyway. And so where am I up to? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, now what else exceeded expectations? Okay, so I'll pop in more passant. Selected short stories. So after you've got, you know, the likes of Trollope and Tolstoy and people like that, and kind of going further back, there was again, this is a generalization, so call me wrong, but there seemed to be a bit of a fakeness of literature, you know, story invention, you know, an overplay of emotions, you know, an overplay of emotions that didn't kind of happen, and you didn't kind of really see real human life. So whether that was linked to the aristocracy and putting on a front, who knows? But reading Maupassant, I'll come back on. So reading, the likes of Hemingway, where you kind of get more warts and all of human beings, and that, the changeover into modern literature where that became more of a thing. He recommended more, some of the French writers and some of the Russians, and I read Maupassant, and it's just surprising. Wow, he was writing about that then. That was a bit risque, and that's a bit real life. So you can kind of think, well, hang on a second. Yeah, the likes of Hemingway didn't invent everything. They built on the generation before them, but that were foreign writers. So yeah, to think of the age that this was written, it's very modern in a good way. So this well exceeded my expectations. Right. Right. Fourth one. Right. This is a bit of a strange one. So I read the book The Forgotten Soldier by Guy Sager. It's about, I think he was Swedish and he signed up for the German army, and it's about, most of it's about the retreat, being chased back to Germany by the Russians and them having a tough time. And it's kind of strange. You think, for quite a while, I'm not quite 21, but when I was younger, there was still kind of what the Germans did rather than what the Nazis did, and there's still kind of a hangover from it, as you can kind of see in modern politics. It's used as an insult, isn't it? Nazi, fascist, and all this kind of thing. So it was kind of strange, like, it's a bit. Also, there were people, who fought for the Germans who weren't Germans. So it kind of had a little bit of an edge to it, kind of as you're kind of reading it. Is this kind of the done thing? Should you really be writing about this? But not so much. But I came across this book, Devil's Guard, by George Robert Elford, and this kind of had a bit of a reputation. Sure, you should be reading that. It's about the Nazis and what the Nazis did. So I kind of thought, what's going to be inside? Is it all going to be, we're defending everything that they did, and we're hoping that Hitler's somewhere in South America, and we're waiting for the day that he comes back again. I just thought, what is this? And I was like, I was a little bit reluctant to read it, but I gave it a go, thinking, well, we'll see where we are, and it's not like that at all. So this kind of exceeded my expectations in that way, that it wasn't all, we never did anything wrong. We didn't. It wasn't like that at all. It's basically, the story of the book is that at the end of the Second World War, they were, there's Nuremberg trials, and they were basically, Western society knew what they'd done with the concentration camps, and it's, what are we going to do with all these people? So it's, do we obliterate them all? Do we forget about it and shake hands? So they kind of went, obviously people were not happy with what the Germans did, and of course what the Japanese did. But so it's kind of like, so they kind of went a little bit halfway. Well, we're going to have the Nuremberg trials, and we're going to hang some of the ringleaders, but of course we're not going to hang all the rocket scientists, because we're in a space race against the Russians, so we'll keep them. So it was all a bit, well, yeah, we're going to treat them tough. So a lot of the SS, so this guy's SS, it's a great cover, isn't it? The Devil's Guard is talking about the SS, and it's about an ex-SS soldier, and it's after the war was lost. Some of them were, hung or whatever. They're basically given a choice: prison, hangman, or you can fight for us. You can become a member of the Foreign Legion. So this guy becomes a member of the Foreign Legion. So that's what the book is about. Is he goes off into Indochina and over in is it Malaysia and all the rest of it, Indochina, to fight the Viet Minh. So it's a story about him being in the jungle. So it's basically, it isn't justifications in any way. It's just, I was in the SS. I got, he was a soldier. They were tough soldiers. Then he gets that choice. He decides, yeah, I won't be hung. I'll go in the Foreign Legion, and then he's just fighting for the French over there. And yeah, the French aren't in Indochina anymore, are they? So it went on for a while. It's just all soldier talk. We're better than the French, our regiment, and they send us into the tough things. It's raining. We're getting bitten by flies. I've taken some antibiotics. It's all that type of stuff. It's not, we're going to take over there's going to be a Fourth Reich and we're taking over the world and all that. It's not like that at all. There's kind of a bit where they're getting shot, so they make the locals walk in front of their tanks to stop the Indo-Chinese, putting attacking them. So that's a little bit dodgy, but that's it. So that exceeded my expectations in that it wasn't the propaganda that people were kind of saying it was going to be. And last but not least, so I hadn't read a lot of classics. I've read a lot, but I hadn't read a lot of classics. I started reading classics, and I was beginning to think, that like classics. I've got Anna Karenina on the go at the moment. It's just, are people just saying something's a great book if it's hard work? If it's just hard work, a slog. So but then there's another type of classic like, Pride and Prejudice. Anything by Jane Austen is a fabulous read, isn't it? A classic, but lovely to read. And I was pleased to come across, again, I'd avoided it, so Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'd avoided reading this because of the films and everything, but I read it and it's absolutely amazing. And I was shocked to think, right, hang on, that's Robert Louis Stevenson. He's written Kidnapped and Treasure Island. So massively exceeded expectations, wonderfully written, very, very interesting. A classic, but not a slog, just kind of like, oh my God, when is this going to be over? And am I going to have to, get in an argument with people saying it's a fabulous book when it's just like, oh, come on. So brilliant. Treasure Island, Kidnapped, also fantastic. It's Robert Louis Stevenson. And there's more as well. Not as well known, but there's more. Yes! Right. I have gone on way too long. Way too long. So, but I hope it's been a treat rather than a trick. So, I'm not tagging anybody because, yeah, it's not quite Halloween. But what a great tag. Really enjoyed that. Hope you like the little twist on books that exceeded expectations rather than 5 best ever reads. I hope you're reading great things. Do the tag if you want to do the tag. Bye for now, everybody.